The following video was brought to you by my Patreon and made possible by viewers like you. If you enjoy my content and want to show your support, consider checking it out. What is going on, everybody? My name is John Solo, and today's subject of discussion is the messed up origin story of Winnie the Pooh. That is right, we are not talking princesses today, we're talking stuffed animals. What a weird job this is. You might be surprised to hear this, but despite Pooh Bear and Friends not being based on a fairy tale, they have some messed up origins of their own. The best part is the origin story actually happened because Christopher Robin was a real person. In fact, the real toys that he played with as a child are on display at the New York Public Library. Before getting into the backstory of how Winnie the Pooh came to be, I want to warn you this is actually a pretty tragic story, so you might want to get the tissues ready. For those who don't remember much about Winnie the Pooh, let's go over some of the basics. Just sit back, relax, hit that like button, and enjoy. Winnie the Pooh is the treasured stuffed animal of a young boy named Christopher Robin. He's known for not being the smartest bear out there, but what he lacks in IQ, he makes up for with his good heart and thoughtfulness. Pooh lives in a forest called the 100-Acre Wood alongside his friends Piglet, Tigger, Kanga, Roo, Rabbit, Owl, and of course, Eeyore. The animals have gone on a series of adventures throughout the years, including catching heffalumps and finding Tigger's real family. When they're not on crazy adventures, the gang lives a pretty relaxed life, throwing birthday parties, playing games, and eating lots of honey. There's been a lot of Winnie the Pooh stories over the years, but that summary should give you the gist. For the most part, the stories we have about Pooh Bear and the 100-Acre Wood are pretty cheerful. Unfortunately, his origin story does not fit that description. Let's start at the beginning. Who is the real Christopher Robin? That title belongs to a boy named Christopher Robin Milne. He was the son of a woman named Dorothy de Salencourt, and his father was a famous author and playwright, Alan Alexander Milne. Christopher Robin, who we're going to call CR for short, was born on August 21st, 1920 in Chelsea, London. On his very first birthday, CR received the gift that would go on to shape the rest of his life, an Alpha Farnell teddy bear that he named Edward. Throughout the first 9 years of his life, Edward and CR were constant companions, and he was known as Edward until CR and his father went to the London Zoo and saw a Canadian black bear there named Winnipeg. Winnipeg, or Winnie for short, was used as a military mascot in World War I and was donated to the London Zoo because she was so popular with the visitors. Evidently, this was also the case with CR, as he changed the name of Edward to Winnie after he saw her. For those wondering, the Pooh part of Winnie the Pooh's name came from a swan that he met while on vacation with his family that was also named Pooh. There's also rumors that part of the name was added because the toy smelled so bad, and while I think that's hilarious, one of the first poetry books that CR's father wrote that included Winnie the Pooh also included a swan named Pooh, so I think that solves it. Over time, CR added a few more animals to his collection: Piglet the pig, Kanga the kangaroo, Eeyore the donkey, and Tigger the tiger. The characters Rabbit and Owl never existed as stuffed animals, but were thought up by CR's father when he started writing stories about the toys. The first time he mentioned his son's teddy bear in his works was in a poem published in February of 1924. Appropriately, it was called Teddy Bear. In 1925, when CR was about 5 years old, his family acquired a vacation home right outside of a forest called the 500-Acre Wood, aka the real-life version of the 100-Acre Wood that Winnie the Pooh lives in. This was around the time that Alan Alexander really started to notice the games that his son played with his stuffed animals and started writing about them extensively. He would periodically go on walks in the woods with CR and his stuffed animals, and these served as inspiration for his stories. Christopher Robin has said that his forest and Pooh Bear's forest are identical. It turns out the illustrator of the Pooh Bear books would go into the woods and sketch the landscapes. As a result, a lot of the locations that we see in the movies and stories actually exist. For example, we have Pooh Stick's Bridge, Eeyore's Gloomy Place, and even Pooh's house. On Christmas Eve of 1925, Winnie the Pooh made his first appearance by name in a London newspaper called the Evening News, and from there, things just got bigger, and worse for Christopher Robin. The story that was used in that paper went on to be the first chapter of the official Winnie the Pooh book released in 1926. The book became obscenely popular, and because of its nature being inspired by real people and real events, it was common knowledge who Christopher Robin actually was. As a result, the 6-year-old became a celebrity without having having much of a say. This became problematic as he was often bullied in school for his connection to the famous teddy bear. To make matters worse, Christopher Robin already had a low self-esteem. He often referred to himself as dim despite being pretty intelligent for a boy his age. The reason he downplayed his intelligence was because he was able to solve complex math equations with no problem at all, but felt like he had to concentrate extra hard to solve the simple ones. The bullying only made him feel worse about himself, and it continued to get worse as time passed. In December of 1927, CR got really sick and couldn't perform his part in the school's Christmas recital. To make up for it, his mom suggested that he record himself singing some of the poems from the Winnie the Pooh book, but when word got out about this record, he was teased relentlessly. Not only that, but years later, his cousin Angela strung the record up in a tree and allowed her kids to throw rocks at it. Isn't that just the saddest thing? The kid just wanted to sing some songs, man. Some years later, in 1930, is when Pooh was given his famous red shirt and became a household name alongside the name Christopher Robin. What happened was an American literary agent bought the US and Canadian television and merchandising rights for Winnie the Pooh. The deal was actually pretty fair because A.A. Milne ended up with $1,000 in cash and 2/3 of Pooh's subsequent earnings. In just a year's time, the Pooh Bear business was generating $25 million. You gotta imagine this must be pretty overwhelming for an 11-year-old Christopher Robin. Just so you can grasp how many people knew who he was, in 1931, he was named one of the most famous children in the world by Parents Magazine alongside the children of royal families. Christopher Robin has said that despite the bullying, he really enjoyed Winnie the Pooh and being famous when he was a kid. It wasn't until he left his studies at Cambridge and joined the military that he began to resent his dad and the business he built using his childhood toys. He felt that his father got to where he was by climbing on top of his infant shoulders, by exploiting his childhood. He said his father stole from him the opportunity of making a name for himself and left him with the empty fame of being his son. So if you didn't know it before, you know it now. Christopher Robin grew up to hate Winnie the Pooh. Also, yes, that's a real picture from an official book called The House at Pooh Corner. There is more to the Christopher Robin story. He went on to be discharged from the military and then finished getting his degree from Cambridge. In 1948, while Winnie the Pooh's fame was increasing exponentially in the background, CR fell in love with and married his first cousin, Leslie. His mother did not approve of the marriage, not because Leslie was his first cousin, but mostly because she didn't have a good relationship with her brother, Leslie's father. And because of this, communication with her son became very limited. CR went on to open up a bookshop with his wife in 1951, which they ran successfully without any help from the Winnie the Pooh royalties. Similar to what happened with his mother, CR did not have a good relationship with his father once he grew into adulthood, mostly because of how exploited he felt from the Winnie the Pooh series. It wasn't until Alan Alexander was approaching his deathbed that Christopher Robin felt compelled to visit him. After his father died, his relationship with his mother was eliminated completely. They didn't talk at all during the 15-year period that followed his father's death, and even on her deathbed, she refused to see her son. The year his father passed away, Christopher Robin and Leslie had a baby girl that they named Claire, who was born with cerebral palsy. It wasn't until 1966 that Pooh Bear and Friends were licensed to Disney, and from there on, the bear's popularity continued to grow until he was ranked the third best-selling franchise in the world after the Disney Princess franchise and Star Wars. This will probably blow your mind. Out of Disney's annual sales of $25 billion, it's estimated that the Winnie the Pooh franchise is responsible for at least $3 billion of that annually. Every year. I know, I want to puke when I hear that. Puke in a good way. I'm happy for them. CR also wrote a few books of his own, namely 3 autobiographies that go into detail about what it was like for him to grow up obscenely famous with no say in the matter and how he dealt with it as he grew into adulthood. On April 20th, 1996, Christopher Robin passed away in his sleep due to complications from a muscular disease called myasthenia gravis. And that, my friends, was the story of how Christopher Robin and Winnie the Pooh rose to fame. There's some more noteworthy events in his story, like the fact that he learned how to box to defend himself against bullies, but there's only so much I can go over in these videos. If you want to read his first autobiography, the book is actually pretty cheap, and I set up an Amazon affiliate link in the description down below, so if you go through that link in order, you can support the channel and you can educate yourself on some Christopher Robin Milne. If you like this episode of Messed Up Origins, make sure you hit that like button so we can reach our goal of 5,000 likes. We actually didn't hit that 5,000 mark in last week's video, and I'm still pretty sad about it, so I don't know. Work your magic, guys. Also, make sure you hit that subscribe button for new Disney content every single week and ring the bell so you're notified whenever I upload. Hit that share button to easily share this video on social media with your Disney loving friends and family, and then follow me on social media for bonus content and to stay updated on what I'm doing between videos. I've also got a Patreon if you want to show your support that way. The link is in the description below. Thank you all so much for watching. Until next time, my name is John Solo, and remember, John shot first.